Knights were an important part of the king's army, and most people aspired to serve in it. Young knights were trained to fight by mounting on piggybacks, while they learned how to bounce and the skills that they needed to mount a horse during battle. Training to become a knight lasted for 7 years as page and an additional 7 years as a squire.
The church was very influential during the Middle Ages. The top clergy, including the bishops and the archbishops, played a significant role in creating the laws of the land. The Pope triggered the initial crusade, the first in a series of 7 bloody wars between Christians and Muslims. The Church, in particular the Pope, bore so much power that he promised to absolve the sins of those who went to fight in the Crusades.
The Black Death was one of the deadliest plagues in the Middle Ages. Italian merchants from Asia came back to Europe in 1347 and brought with them the plague. The plague was characterized by blue and black swellings all over the body. According to historical accounts, the Black Plague killed about half of Europe's population in just about 3 years.
The plague that spread across Europe in the Middle Ages was the plague of drunkenness. This plague settled in just about the same time of the Black Death, but outlasted the Black Death plague. People all across Europe drank themselves to death, thinking that the alcoholic concoction would protect them from the Black Death disease.
In this time, there was a lot of fighting. People didn't have guns, so they fought with bow and arrows, swords, and shields. The longbow was a kind of really long, strong bow that could shoot an arrow far and powerful. The Sage Tower was a tower on wheels that could be pushed up to the castle wall so invaders could climb over the castle. A battering ram was a tree trunk with iron on it that you could swing against the castle door to try and break it down.
Although modern-day film and folklore depicts the Middle Age romance as courtly and velvety, this is far from the Middle Ages facts. The medieval marriage typically involved young children. A boy aged 14 and a girl aged 12 would get married, and their union would be considered consensual and legal. The noble families conducted betrothals when their children were as young as 7 years, and some even betrothed babies at birth.
Women in the Middle Ages were completely submissive to the males, whether it was their father, brother, or husband. A woman would be beaten if she refused to take orders from any male. A lack of submission was perceived as a sin and contradictory to the religious principles.
There was a church for every 200 people. This means that in any given city, there were churches everywhere. Most buildings in the medieval cities were churches. For example, cities such as York, Lincoln, and Norwich, that had a population of not more than 10,000 each, had an average of around 50 churches.
One of the most gruesome Middle Ages facts is that most trials were trials by ordeal, and were especially common in England. These trials entailed subjecting the accused to painful punishment, such as burning him with a heated iron. The accused would be found innocent if the wound healed quickly, as it was believed that God had healed him because he was innocent.
As much as humans were put through these trials, so were animals. In medieval times, animals were put on trial for hurting or killing a human being. For example, the Parliament in France ordered that a cow be executed for harming a human. The cow was hanged and later burned.